Hi, I'm Paul Roberts with Conscious Counseling 101. I usually try to be really practical and approach everything I talk about in a way that most people can try to understand it and get something out of it, but I'm going to go way out today just for fun. Let's dream, let's imagine, let's use our imaginations, but let's found them in reality and some of the teachings and things that we can learn from the Bible, and let's say, what if, just for fun. So I've heard things, like in the Garden of Eden, it could be symbolic, of course, but let's just pretend that it could be real, or it's summed up in poetry. I've heard things like man could fly. When I look at, the differences between the old covenant of the chosen people and the new covenant, and where God had that relationship with mankind, with the Jewish people, with the chosen people, and he was right there with them, and everything that they needed to do was grounded in the physical reality. The things that they would gain, long life, health, winning over enemies in war, keeping themselves purified against disease and sickness. Just everything was all of this earth. And I like to think, well, okay, now that's been changed, even though no stroke was added to or taken away from the law. When Jesus came and he did his work, we're not the chosen people now. We're not going to be assured of this long life. We're not going to be assured that God will watch after us in the ways that he said he was going to watch after those people. It's a totally different thing. We could be gone tomorrow. We need to be willing to take up our cross and walk that difficult walk away from brothers, fathers, mothers. Be so committed to what we believe that we're not concerned about our bodies and the things of this world. That's not to say that we won't live out our lives, but we're not about that. And the relationship we have with God, created through Jesus and the Holy Spirit, didn't make it about that in this new covenant. So what I want to go way far out there today with is, well, what if the way that occurs is physical, not a hand of God touching down, but actually physical in some way? What if the way that occurs is through our minds and the empowerment that we have with our minds? Like, for instance, back then, and even in Jesus' time, it was said that there are prophesiers, witches, people like this that can do things and see things. Maybe the reason why we don't have that now is that back then, because everything was physical and tangible, including our minds and our bodies, the mind could hone into those things, and now it can't. Maybe the mind could elevate us or cause us to fly. I mean, this is way out there, but let's just consider it. And now it can't. Maybe then we could cure some diseases by thinking about it or looking at a snake on a pole. And now we can't. We need medicines and we need things like that. Another one. If you believed you couldn't touch the ark, and the person that slipped and fell and touched it believed he shouldn't, and he couldn't, and he wasn't supposed to, his mind, knowing that, could cause him to fall dead. When somebody held something back that they should not have held back, and tried to jip, I can't remember the exact context, but hold something back that they shouldn't have held back, and he was being warned, the feet are at the door, and they know they've come from you, and he dropped dead. Well, maybe he dropped dead because he was so remorseful and he knew what he had done was so severe that his mind terminated himself. Maybe it was just over like that. These are just some crazy things, but I was talking to my wife the other day because it came up back about 30 years ago or so. She was in a production house, advertising agency, and some of the girls there, mostly Jewish, would go to mediums and psychics and try to find out how to relate to people and have relationship and see what's going to come up and things like that. And I said to her, just for fun, because I think about things like this just for fun, for my imagination. I don't do drugs, so I contemplate things. Einstein said imagination is more important than knowledge. So I sometimes take it maybe too literally, but I have fun, I think. I said to her, well, from where they're coming from, maybe there's something to that, Maybe our belief that a fortune cookie says something can even be true in a way, because if our minds actually have the power of unlimited potential that we just really are using a small percentage of our minds, maybe through the ways and means that we relate to our Creator and how our life is set up, maybe our minds can do more at specific times and specific circumstances. Through time, the body, same thing. Like the Incredible Hulk, one of the superheroes that he wanted to do a strong feat and couldn't do it, and he was just so caught up. And they said, "Why can't I have this extra strength that I've heard that some people have at times like this?" And he went and did some scientific experiments, gave himself too much strength, and the whole series is about delving into that. What if those girls that went to the mediums, are just all they're doing is looking at how things used to be, and maybe there's something there, and maybe somebody like us who just said, ha ha ha, I just said, I went through this long thing about what if this, Mimi, what if this, talking to my wife, and I just bringing these things up. I'm bringing it up now just for fun. She probably didn't get anything out of it. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes I just do things to see if I can get something out of it. It didn't go anywhere, and then I finally said, no, they're probably just goofy, goofy girls. But let's talk about these kinds of crazy things too, because I was going on the internet and looking at YouTube videos today, and looking at some people that do kind of what I do, only the difference that they always use is they have the answer, and you can get it from them. You can buy it, you can learn it, you can develop talents and skills, and you can gain it. And I was looking at it, okay, they're very appealing. This is something that they can give to you, and you can take it, and you can have it. That's very appealing. And I was looking, oh, wow, these guys are very popular. I was looking at what they're doing and looking at all the different videos they have that are similar in nature that offer this, and they're getting a lot of hits. And I was saying to myself, gee, what if I could find a way to get more people to talk about things without charging or without changing the message at all, but just making it so that people were more interested in it. And I started saying to myself, if I don't try to find some way to make more people interested so that only the people that come to me will just be the ones that are seriously looking, then maybe I'm going to miss some of the ones that would have seriously looked and they don't find. And so I thought, well, what could I talk about that would be more interesting? This is one of the things that I came up with. What if the mind makes what the relationship that man and God has at any given time happen? What if Jesus, there are many people that allude to the fact that, Jesus isn't necessarily saying he's the Son of God. He's just saying he's a son of man, a son of God. Like we're all son of men, son of God. Some people say he's not anything more. Let's just say just for the sake of argument, that he wasn't anything more. What if what his message is, that he's trying to give us, is that we can do more by purging our hearts and our minds of the physical realm needs and the foolishness of what we run, the things we run after, that takes and occupies us and makes us shallow, two-dimensional creatures, and we can only think about these things. And then we neglect a larger conscious growth that perhaps people had before. And then, therefore, we miss whatever is spiritual, whatever the mental, whatever the conscious thing, and then the way that manifests itself into the physical realm. Somehow we might miss it. So what if Jesus is what he's trying to say is, if we don't go after these things with our heart, mind, and body and spirit, but not just for titillation sensibilities living in this world today, but what if we went after these things that are valuable and meaningful? What if we went after them, and that understanding of consciousness and the value that would come from it would elevate us to a higher level to where we could accomplish things? Well, wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be something? But we might not ever know we're doing it. I like to imagine that we could do it, though, because these things I'm talking about weren't written down in the Old Testament. It just said this person dropped dead. This event happened. If you look at the pole of the snake, if you got bit, you'd survive. If the hands were raised in battle, the winning would occur. If they fell and you got tired, the winning would start to not occur anymore. These kinds of things. What if only the symbolic nature was written down, was so that all man could understand it? And what if behind what's actually occurring wasn't the thing that was doing it, but the man believing that the thing was doing it, and so he believed? What if the mind that believed it caused it to happen? What if man could fly? What if man could read minds or tell the future? What if man could make himself drop dead or curse others to drop dead? What if man would fall down if he knew he had done something wrong and been caught? Wow, that's big. Now, transfer that over to the New Testament, the New Covenant. What are these gifts that we might receive in this new way that God has showed us to live through the teachings and the work of His Son, Jesus? What kinds of things could we find that would happen? Just like those people weren't aware that the mind might have had anything to do with it, I don't know that we'd be aware that our spirituality or our mind or our conscience would have anything to do with it. And I think if we, as soon as we did become aware of it, and we became into that for self-gain, which is very likely, I think then at the same time we would counteract what it is we're trying to do, because that's not what it's for. But what if we actually could gravitate towards doing something like, say, the symbology of prayer? And I believe in being in a perpetual state of prayer, not needing to get down and I'm doing it now, I'm not doing it now. I got to do my work right now, I'm not doing it now. I'm here, I'm doing it now. Oh, I'm in church, I'm doing it now. I'm with the believers, I'm doing it there. I got my hands raised, I'm voices, I'm doing it now. I'm not doing it now, though, because I got to sleep. Okay, I'm not doing it now because I've raised my children. I'm eating right now, I'm not doing it, but I'm going to pray before I eat. What about all that stuff? What if the perpetual state of prayer is doing something, but we're asked to only pray for what we would have as God's will? What if all the people that are praying, they want that new job, want their promotion, I want my kids to be healthy, whatever. What if all the things they're praying for are just their will? Well, would they come true necessarily? Would God want them to come true? They would only come true if they were God's will. So what if whenever we pray in that perpetual state of prayer, we're praying, and these things are happening in our world through our prayer, or maybe even beyond our lifetime? Maybe we're effectuating things now that are going to happen beyond our lifetime. What if that's happening and we can't even prove it to one another? Wouldn't it be a disaster if we didn't at least imagine or believe that there could be something like that? Now, this isn't going to go anywhere. It's not going to go anywhere. But I'm just putting this out there to show a little more interest sake of the kinds of things that go through my mind, even when I'm just imagining and dreaming. So that when you're doing practical things and you're developing your consciousness and you're working on conscious counseling techniques, which mean to bring you where you need to be, and then explain the rest of the time to yourself why you're there and how you got there. And because you're there, you explain to yourself why everything has changed around you, even though it's the same. Maybe whatever you do to yourself to make yourself conscious and aware and be what you are does good things. But just like we couldn't imagine that it was our mind and our conscious in the olden days causing things in this physical reality, maybe now we can't realize that our mind is going to affect change, and we can't nail it down, we can't see it, and yet it could still happen. What about that? Just the idea that it could be, to me, sounds like something to think about. But I like to say, even if it wasn't anything that we could think about like that, the value that the things we do could be, rather than not, and the fact that we become what we should be, rather than not, we can fantasize about what that's going to do, or think, and not even fantasize, but maybe it's possible. It's theoretical, right? But wouldn't it be better that we do what we can and become what we can and hope what we can rather than not? I think even if these things we're talking about today are just bogus, just dumb, just crazy, nonsensical things, there's still a likelihood that they're possible. But I'd like to say that if you're going for this idea that what you're doing is worthy and it creates value for you and those you touch, both now and in the future, both people that you can see and people that you can't see and never have met, especially in our day and age where so many people see these things and talk about these things through the internet. I like to believe that what we're doing is going to cause good things to happen. And I like to believe that even larger than the scope of what we're talking about here today, it's possible that those things are even bigger than that. My mind is just so small. It's just so small thinking about these small things that seem outrageous, probably. A lot of you are saying these things sound outrageous. I like to believe that the things that are actually going to occur are so insurmountable I can't even put my hands on them. I can't even put my fingers on. I can't even describe them. I can't even contemplate what they might be. The effect of each individual person, the possibility of the effect is so large. If we could just get our hands on that and just grasp how infinite that possibility might be, I think we can find value and inspiration to fathom and imagine what could be and not have to prove it. Just say, what if? I don't know. Does that mean anything to anybody? That kind of stuff mean anything to anybody? Or is it too far out? You'd rather go back to just practical, what can we do in our daily lives? How can we take a situation and help somebody with it? And just have them think about that in a very even keel way, in their own way, however they think, and just leave it at that. I don't know. I personally shoot my mind out there in every different direction. But I know that it's just thinking and fathoming and imagining. I know that. I heard it said that a good way to evaluate or define intelligence is someone that is willing to contemplate or consider any idea they could possibly hear or imagine and see what merit it has and study it and look at it and fondle it and do whatever but not necessarily feel like you have to implement any of it into your life. But just know that there could be value there and to not shut it out, but to look at it. I think that's a really good way to sum up how a good, healthy intelligence can use something like that. Let me just make one last example before we end this up for today. I'm out here in California now, and I see a lot of these New Age thinkers, and they do some of these crazy things. And they lock it down, and they say, that's it. This is what I'm giving you is real. And then that's it. You can't prove it, but if you don't do it, you don't believe it, and it's not going to work. And then you lose it, and you paid your money for whatever, you don't made your donation, whatever, and you didn't get anything out of it. They come up with crazy ideas that can't be proven, and they don't just contemplate it like I am and say, what if, guys? Let's talk about this for a little while. They put all in. This is it. Yeah, it works perfectly. Yeah, I'm going to go for that one or that one. Oh, no, I like that one. But then they're all in. This is what I see happening. When something sounds good, you don't just take it and you roll with everything else you've got and see what you can put into it and what you can get out of it. You lob onto something. And I think a lot of people don't lob onto much of anything. I think they just lob onto, well, how can I make some money, have a nice car, a nice house, take care of the basic needs, and just, how can I just get by? And I think that that's what a lot of people do. And I think then the other people, like I'm talking about, they just lob onto something and they make these extraneous, crazy things sound like they're solid. I'm just a regular, practical guy that talks about what-if scenarios for fun to get somebody's mind going. I'm putting this on here because I want to have, if anybody's been looking at my other videos, by the way, I don't participate in all the comment things and all this stuff on YouTube. I've disabled all that stuff. But on my page on Facebook, that you can find by looking for me, or some of my other videos have the link, I want to encourage all this kind of crazy talk and really practical, serious talk and everything in between, as long as it's not destructive. I don't want to have people there where they're just going to be critical and say, oh, you did this and you said this and I want you to prove that this exists and this doesn't exist and all this. I don't want that there. The only thing we want is if you're looking for a place where it's positive and you can come in there and you can talk and have a friend and imagine and share, come to the Facebook page. Help others if you think they need help. I'm just getting this started, so far only like 4, maybe 5 people know about it. And the ones closest to me know about it, but the ones closest to me don't necessarily get what I'm trying to do. They see me as Paul Roberts. Whereas the ones that are out there all over the world, 7 billion people or something like that, and they're all coming from all different mindsets. Some of them might say, oh, that guy's got something. But I like the fact that he doesn't shove it down my throat, and he's not sure of it because he says he doesn't know. I'd like to go find out more, or at least just dabble with it a little bit, have some fun, see what kind of people I'll meet, see if I can help anybody, see if I can learn anything. That's what I want to see more of. If you're one of those people, I'm real. I am straightforward and I'm here. I put this crazier video out today because I see the counts that some people are actually watching these, even though I don't hear from a lot of them. So if this is more the way you think we should talk every now and then consider this a little like wade into the shallow end of the pool. Maybe we can go farther. I mean, I could go way farther, but I don't do it because people think I'm out of my gourd a lot of times. But let's let this be one of those ones where I kind of like said, hey, look at this. What about if the mind made these things happen rather than God? Because everybody's always got this, you know, that Sistine Chapel, you know, the hand of God reaching out, touching Adam. Everybody's got this idea that the lightning bolt of the hand is the way God works. And if you pray, you know, the light will shine down and you'll have it. All those paintings and everything, you know. Maybe God uses us in this physical realm and gave us these bodies and these images and these minds for a reason. And maybe the mind does it all. Who knows? I'd like to talk about that because I think it's one of the more concrete ideas that you really can't throw away and say, that guy's a lunatic. What about ghosts? Maybe a person's mind convinces them that there's a ghost, even if there isn't a ghost. Maybe, just like there's radio waves, but we can't see them, but we can tune them in, maybe there's all kinds of other types of rays and different things that the mind, if they were channeled in, could get it. The thing I worry about is somebody that, like, I worry about a pastor that says, this is the way it is, this is what the belief you should have is, and if not, you're going to be struck down. I worry about people that say, I can channel, and I can do this and that, and then they got something to sell, and they're doing it because they're a prankster, or they're a farce. It's so easy to be that. If you have confidence, you can project confidence, and you get other people that don't have confidence, and you look at you, and you seem real, and you sold it to them. I don't ever want to be that. Oh. I don't really believe it exists, quite frankly. It could. I believe it could. But I don't really believe it does. Not in our world now. And I explained that earlier about the mind. It might have at one point. I don't believe it does now. But I like to talk about those things. I used to talk about them a lot more on some of my other boards that I had, just for fun. You learn a lot about people. It gives you things to think about. You know, I like to think about things just to think about things. And I think if you use those muscles in your brain, that can help your mind with so many other things. And then that consciousness builds and you apply it to your life in so many ways. And you can get a value out of that by just playing in a sandbox with your mind. Don't go and using drugs and go, you know. Make your mind work. Make your mind work to imagine. Don't just have some synthetic thing where you have to have it do it. Have your own energy make your mind work. Well, maybe I'll throw this one away. I don't know. I might just throw this one away. Let's see if anybody says anything or anybody comes to the page. Because I don't want people that take me seriously to think, oh, I can't take him seriously because he talks about some of these new age wacky concepts. If I damage my ability to help someone, then I'm concerned. If someone doesn't take me seriously and I could have helped them, then I'm concerned. I don't want to be a fake. I don't want to be fraudulent. I don't want to be transparent or 2D or, like you could blow over with like a feather, just blow it over. But on the other hand, there are people in real pain here in this world. There are people that are just so lost. And I just want to reach out. But I see people that do things in a titillating, exciting way, getting people to notice. I feel like if I was there, I could help more people. But I can't make that compromise saying, if I've got to get there by making the compromise, I've already failed before I went. So that's the very important thing that I'm trying to do. And I'm asking a few people that know me or they don't know me or see me and they think they know me or they want to get to know me to help me to do that. To remain genuine. But just find some way to do more with what we have. So this is getting a little rambly. But I think the idea of where I went that was kind of crazy for some and then locking it back down to reality is important. If a failure is made by me, then I should try to correct it. But I need to also reach out to people that might want to talk to me about these kinds of things because I think their imagination and their mind can be helpful to me and those that I talk with. So consider this a sketch.